Welcome back to the Adam Schefter Podcast as we get ready for the July 4th holiday and the kickoff of NFL training camps, which begin, and this is amazing to think about, Saturday, July 12th, when the Los Angeles Chargers rookies report to training camp. And by the time we get to July 22nd, which isn't all that far away now, I believe every player from every team, other than the contractual holdouts, will be in training camp and ready for the upcoming football season. But before we get to some of the huge storylines that hang over the upcoming football season, we're going to hear today from the owner of the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft, looking back at some of his favorite moments from buying this Patriots franchise in 1994 for $172 million, only to see the Los Angeles Lakers recently sold for $10 billion. How much money has Robert Kraft made on that investment and all the others he has made? We'll talk about his purchase of the Patriots and all the Super Bowls he's won in this particular podcast. And we'll be joined by the Basketball Hall of Famer, immortal Michigan man, Chris Webber, to talk about the state of college sports today and what it would be like to be the type of star player and number one overall pick that he was for a player in today's college game. But before we get to Robert Kraft and Chris Webber, we first get to my great producer, my friend, my coworker, Dan Stanczyk, who's filling in this week in place of Ty Schmidt, who's celebrating his daughter's birthday today on the one day we could tape this podcast. And so Dan Stanczyk steps in to host this week's Six Pack.
Thank you, Shefty. Glad to be here. Pinch hitting for Ty. He'll be back in short order. And you said it. We are close. Basketball season's over. Baseball season's in the dog days. NHL season's over. It is right around the corner with training camp. And we have some big questions to get to. Let's start with topic number one. Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers told our friends at the Pat McAfee show that when it comes to his playing career, he's, quote, pretty sure this is it, end quote. So what is at stake for Rodgers, who turns 42 in December this season?
Well, Dan, this sounds like the official farewell tour for Aaron Rodgers. It's underway. He basically acknowledged that this looks like it'll be his last season. This is like a great rock band, a great musician, going on tour one final time. His farewell tour, Aaron Rodgers. And if we go back and look at some of the ways that the great quarterbacks have fared in their final season, it has not been as strong as you might think. Our great researcher, Evan Kaplan, put together some of these numbers, but Tom Brady, in what turned out to be his final season, probably played about as well as anybody could. 25 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions, before losing in the wild card round. Drew Brees, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, lost in the divisional playoff round. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Peyton Manning, 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, but won the Super Bowl, also very good. And Brett Favre, 11 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, missed the playoffs in his last year. So we've had some strong numbers from Tom Brady, Drew Brees, some great postseason results from Peyton Manning, but I don't know that any one of those years stands out any more than the other. So Aaron Rodgers now will try to duplicate that at a time where, as I've said, he and the Steelers need each other, right? He has not won a postseason game since January 2021, over 1,600 days ago. The Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 6 straight postseason games. And to think that Aaron Rodgers is turning 42 years old in December. And when he was on the Pat McAfee show and he said that he anticipates this to be his last season, he sounds like that once this season ends, we are not going to see him for a very long time, if ever. He's going to be vanishing from the public eye. He has grown to truly dislike that. He doesn't want to be anyone's subject for the paparazzi. He wants to move on with life. He wants to go into some cave, he just wants to disappear. So this really will be, I think, people's last chance to see one of the great quarterbacks of all time in what he now anticipates to be his final season. And as if Aaron Rodgers' season wasn't enough of a storyline already, the fact that he said it's probably his last one, that elevates it that much more, Dan.
Well, that also elevates things for the Steelers, because where does that leave them at quarterback next season once Rodgers is gone? They did take Will Howard in the draft, but I can't say for certain he's going to be the guy next year.
Well, again, as we pointed out, the draft in 2026 is in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are scheduled to have a first-round pick, a second-round pick, 3 third-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, 2 fifth-round picks, 2 sixth-round picks, and a 7th-round pick. They are loaded with draft capital, and in the city that they will host the draft, it's going to be a great time for them to move up that board to try to get one of these quarterbacks that they really like in the 2026 draft.
Let's stay in the AFC North and go to topic number 2, Shefty, and address perhaps the league's most interesting quarterback room, that, of course, being the Cleveland Browns. What stands out to you about Cleveland's quarterback room of Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders?
Well, first of all, when we look at it, Dan, since returning to the NFL in 1999, no team has used more quarterbacks than the Cleveland Browns. They've had 40 different quarterbacks since 1999, 10 more than the next closest team, which just happens to be the Chicago Bears. And this year, the Browns going to camp with 4 quarterbacks, really 5 if you count Deshaun Watson, who's trying to come back off the double Achilles surgery that he had this offseason. We've got the former comeback player of the year in Joe Flacco, former first-round pick Kenny Pickett, the 2 draft picks, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, who's now trying to become the first rookie drafted in the 5th round or later to start a season opener since Randy Hedberg did it in 1977. Remember Randy Hedberg, Dan?
I do not.
Neither do I, but he was the last quarterback drafted in the 5th round or later to start a game. And that tells you that the chances are not in Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders' favor to start this season. Remember the last 4th round pick or later to start
It's
a game?
got to be Dak Prescott, right?
Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
There we go. So
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel has a little bit of a better chance based on draft history. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think we can realistically expect Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders to open the season as the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. That doesn't mean that at some point this season, the Browns won't get a look at them. I think that their season has to be on one where they're trying to win now, but they also need to get an idea of their quarterback for the future. So the 2 things that they most need are running on parallel tracks, because let's not forget, the Cleveland Browns have the Jacksonville Jaguars first-round draft pick in that 2026 NFL draft. So if Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders don't look like they're going to be the Browns quarterback of the future, then the Browns have to be all in 2026 on a quarterback in that draft. If one of them rises up, stands out, and shows that he's capable of being a quality NFL starting quarterback, well, now they can allocate that draft capital to other areas, and we'll see what that does. But the Browns quarterback room might be as interesting as any in the National Football League. They've already started more quarterbacks over the last 26 years than anybody else, an average of almost 2 per season. And there's a real opportunity, a real chance that they'll be starting at least 2, maybe 3 again this year.
It's late June right now. Your belief at this moment is that Joe Flacco is the week 1 starting quarterback?
That's where I would guess right now. Now, again, I go back to the summer that Dak Prescott did win the Cowboys starting job. Came into camp and lit it up in the preseason. I go back to the summer that Russell Wilson was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2012 draft, I believe.
Matt Flynn, right?
Matt Flynn they signed, and Russell came in and lit it up. Now, if Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders can come in and play at that level, which very, very few rookies have done, then sure, the starting job could be within their grasp. But that's the type of performance it would take. A slam dunk, no doubt, have to start this rookie quarterback type of performance in the preseason that separates them from Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. And I can't imagine that that's going to happen, but you have to see how camp unfolds.
Well, certainly there will be plenty of eyes on that quarterback situation as we get closer to the season. Let's move to topic number 3. And the Philadelphia Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions, in case those of us forgot, and among the favorites again to win it this season. But the title most coaches focus on first is winning the division. Win the division, figure out where you are in the playoffs. But Shefty, why will repeating as NFC East champions perhaps be more elusive than repeating as Super Bowl champs for the Eagles?
Dan, do you realize that there has not been an NFC East division winner that's repeated in 20 years?
It's unbelievable.
20 years.
We've had 2 Super Bowl defenses in that time span.
Not only is that the longest streak in NFL history, the streak goes beyond football. It borders on the unimaginable now. The 20-season streak without a repeat winner in the NFC East is the longest that a division winner has gone without repeating as a division champ in any sport at any time. Think about it. So nobody can win the NFC East in back-to-back years. It's crazy, right? We knew how hard it was to do in football in this one division. But this transcends football. This transcends the NFC East. This goes to every sport. We see division winners everywhere, in every sport, quicker than we've seen a division winner over the last 20 years in the NFC East. That gives you an idea of what the Eagles are up against this season. Now, could we see the Commanders overtaking the Eagles this year? That's certainly possible with a quarterback as talented as Jaden Daniels. Could we see the Dallas Cowboys supplanting the Eagles? Under the first year of Brian Schottenheimer, it's asking a lot, but it's not out of the question. Dallas is talented enough to win, and if everything goes right, yes, I think the Cowboys could win that division. I'm not favoring them to win the division, but they could win it. And the New York Giants, nobody expects that they're going to win that division, but I do think that most people expect that team to be vastly improved. And I do think that people are forgetting about how much talent is actually on this roster. That pass rush with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter could be as formidable as any in the National Football League. They have some strong young players in the secondary. I think it's a good team. They've got some serious skill position players and Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo. And we'll see what Russell Wilson can do. And if Jackson Dart's a player and Jameis Winston in the quarterback room, I like their talent a little bit more than other people. Is it enough to win the division? I'm not expecting that, but weird things happen in the NFL every year. Nevertheless, it's up to the Giants, Cowboys, and Commanders to try to do something to keep alive a streak that really is hard to imagine.
It really is. It really is. I'm a Giants fan. It's crazy the turnover in that division year after year, especially when you go into a season. It looks like one team is destined to win it, and then of course things fall out of the way and they can't get it done. But we will move to topic number 4. It is still June, as we keep saying, but we have injury questions among the AFC South quarterbacks. Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson shut down during OTAs with a shoulder soreness. Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud missed a lot of their offseason activities, again, shoulder soreness. And Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence coming off surgery on his AC joint in his left shoulder. So, Shefty, we turn to you. Which of those is the most concerning?
Well, I think Anthony Richardson is the most concerning. Now, I think he has said that he expects to be ready for the start of training camp, but I've heard all sorts of wacky theories about the condition of his shoulder. I believe he'll be out there at some point early in training camp, but I think it bears watching. C.J. Stroud did return at some point during OTAs to start practicing. Trevor Lawrence had a sleeve on his elbow and shoulder at one point in time during OTAs, came back in practice, and the Jaguars believe he's okay after undergoing surgery on his left non-throwing shoulder. We also know that the man that's been signed to complement and potentially compete with Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, he's got a long history of injuries. So here's a division that has invested an awful lot in its quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick. C.J. Stroud was the number 2 overall pick. And I believe Anthony Richardson was the number 4 overall pick. There are injury questions about all of them. Number 6 overall pick, Daniel Jones, has had a lot of injuries himself. And so, again, we'll see which quarterback can be healthiest. I feel the most comfortable and confident right now in Stroud and Lawrence. I think Anthony Richardson just has to show us this summer, which he expects to, that he will be okay with that shoulder injury. And the healthiest quarterback right now is the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward in Tennessee. But again, a lot of high picks in this division at the quarterback position and a lot of injury question marks as we get set to open training camp.
Let's go right to topic number 5 and keep talking quarterbacks. The Vikings went 14-3 with Sam Darnold at quarterback last year. He's in Seattle now, of course. And Minnesota is turning to J.J. McCarthy, who missed all of last season, has not made an NFL snap. What kind of pressure is on him as we enter this season?
Well, look, if we go back to the quarterback draft of 2024, Caleb Williams had one of the great touchdown to interception ratios in the National Football League, the 6th best touchdown to interception ratio. We know what Jaden Daniels did. He was incredible. We know what Drake May did. He showed flashes of greatness last year. Michael Penix came on and looked really strong for Atlanta. Bo Nix was exceptional in Denver. The only rookie quarterback in the first round from 2024 that didn't play this past season was J.J. McCarthy. Tore his meniscus in training camp, missed the season, wasn't there a whole lot. Now we wait to see. They let Sam Darnold sign with the Seahawks. I just think that with the way that everybody in his draft class has performed, with the way Sam Darnold was last year, you're asking a lot of J.J. McCarthy. And I'm a big J.J. fan. Great young man, really talented, and I believe he's going to succeed. But it is still a question going into the season about what we're going to get from him. Now, again, it works in his favor that he's surrounded by a tremendous coaching staff with Kevin O'Connell and the offensive coordinator, Josh McCown. Great wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Like, it is all around him. It's all there for him. But he still has to go out and execute it. And we've seen a lot of talented players not be able to rise up. I think he does rise up. I think he does answer the questions. I think he gets it done. But I'm biased, of course. I'm a Michigan man. He is a Michigan man. He got it done for Michigan when it mattered, and I think he'll get it done for Minnesota when it matters too, Dan.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the most intriguing questions as you look to this season. They also beefed up the offensive line this offseason. They got Jordan Mason from the San Francisco 49ers too to help in the run game. So JJ's in a good position, but it remains to be seen if he can join his fellow classmates from that draft class with success at the next level. Let's go to topic number 6 now, and we have 2 big-name coaches back in the NFL this season. Pete Carroll leading the charge with the Las Vegas Raiders, and Mike Vrabel, former New England Patriot, is now coaching the New England Patriots. Do you think either of them will turn things around quickly?
Well, how about this? On opening day this year for the Raiders, September 7th, Pete Carroll will be 73 years and 357 days old, which will pass Romeo Crennel and make him the oldest NFL head coach in history.
Wow.
That's incredible to me that Pete Carroll is going to set a new mark this season. And that
doesn't
guy,
look it.
Well, he doesn't look it, and he doesn't act it either.
Yeah.
The guy's got more energy than coaches half his age. He's incredible. He's a wonder. But he will be on opening day the oldest head coach who's ever patrolled an NFL sideline. And speaking of history, Mike Vrabel will become the first person ever to win 3 Super Bowls as a player with one franchise, only to become the head coach of that franchise. And I think the Patriots are going to be better than people think. I think their win total is going to surprise. Last week, and we'll get to this after our interviews, when I was a sideline course reporter at the Travelers Championship in Cromwell, Connecticut, the one question that I heard on every single hole, Dan, I had Patriot fans screaming to me, "Patriots, the over-under's 8.5. Where are we going to be, Shefty?" And I'm like, the over. The over's coming in.
That's a lot. That over-under has really jumped. I mean, I know everyone's excited, but I think slow down on that number. It's a little high.
I think it's going to be over 8.5. I told everybody on the course that day, within earshot of Rory McIlroy and Keegan Bradley. They heard the whole thing all day as well. They're probably sick of hearing it, but I think that team is pretty good. And I think the guy that knows that team is going to be a little bit better than people expect is the Patriots owner, Robert Kraft. And the day after we served as the on-course sideline reporter for PGA Tour Live on ESPN, plus we had the chance to go to Fanatics. You were there, Dan. We had 2 guests on the main stage Friday afternoon. The first guest is the owner of the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft. The second guest was basketball Hall of Famer, former number 1 overall pick, all-time Michigan great, Chris Webber. But we started that Friday afternoon with Robert Kraft, who once bought the New England Patriots for $172 million, which at the time seemed like a wild investment. Not anymore, Dan. And Robert Kraft had a chance to talk about that and some of the success that he's had in New England, with the exception of the last couple of years, at Fanatics Fest last week.
I would say Mr. Kraft, I would say Robert, but he wants to be called RKK. Just so you know, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm being presumptuous by calling him RKK. This is his preference. So RKK, I have to start here. Back in 1994, you spent $172 million on the New England Patriots. At the time, it was the most money ever spent for an NFL franchise.
For any sports franchise anywhere in the world.
For any sports franchise anywhere in the world. When you bought the Patriots for $172 million, did you have any idea where this journey and adventure would take you?
Well, I had a big dream to try to buy the Patriots, and it took me 15 years to make it come true. I had to get control of the 200 acres of land around the stadium, buy the stadium out of bankruptcy when Victor Kiam owned the team, and then finally in '94, when they were close to moving to St. Louis, my wife of blessed memory at the time, she wasn't nuts. She said, "How much are you going to pay?" I said, "Well, the right number is 110, but I'll probably go to 115, 120. And I went to 172 in '94. That was 50% more, and the team was losing money, and it had the worst won-loss record in the NFL.
So what made you go from 110 to 115 to a record 172?
I wanted to live my dream was to own the team. I sat on those metal benches and thought about if I owned the team, how I'd run it and what I'd do. And I love the sport of football, and it's just something I dreamt about. And I'm going to say to everyone listening here who maybe has a big dream and it doesn't go your way, stay with it, persevere, do what you got to do, and you know, that's how things happen. People don't persevere enough today to live their dreams.
How long after the purchase did you know that your investment was a sound one?
Well, the team had been in business 34 years. It had never sold out. And my eldest son, Jonathan, and I went and made 75 speeches the first 90 days, and it sold out. So the games used to be blacked out locally.
Wow.
And people don't understand that. And I saw that the fan support was there. We just had to make a product worthy of their support. And the fans have been unbelievable. And we actually wound up with a waiting list of fans of 125,000 people who paid $100 to get on the waiting list. So, but to answer your question directly, in the third year of ownership in 1996, we actually wound up going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we lost to the Green Bay Packers. But seeing what that did in our community, it made me feel we really had something special.
As you look back at the 31 years of ownership, what stands out to you as your greatest moment? There have been so many along the way.
Well, there's one thing about when you dream of owning a team and then you want to win. And when we went to the Super Bowl in 2001 season, 4 months after 9/11, 4 or 5 months, and the country was so messed up, and we were the largest underdog against the greatest show on turf, the St. Louis Rams. And I'll never forget, so let's see, it was 34 and 7 years, so 41 years we dreamt about winning a Super Bowl. And seeing the clock tick down as Adam Vinatieri makes the kick, as time runs out, and we win the Super Bowl, it was just unbelievable. And, you know, we're living in a country now where there's so much division, and our sport, the NFL, brings people together like nothing else. And I'll never forget how our victory, we're a team called the Patriots, we're red, white, and blue, and we won a championship. It was pretty cool.
And so you said, I think, we're all Patriots, right?
We're all Patriots, and tonight the Patriots are world champions.
And so that was, of all the Super Bowls you've won, is that the most special one to you?
Well, that's sort of like asking about your children. They're all special, but the one against Atlanta when we were down 28-3 and had a 99.6% chance to lose. 2 minutes to go in the third period, and we came back. And whenever I have difficult situations, I say to myself, for our team, 28-3. And that comeback, Tom Brady showed his leadership and skills like nothing else, and the whole team. And then the other one was Malcolm Butler interception. That was unbelievable.
What stands out about that to you?
What stands out about it? Well, the game was just about over. The clock's running out. They were on the 1 or 2 yard line. They had the greatest running back, and they throw that pass that Malcolm Butler, when we started training camp, he was working at a Popeyes. He came to us as a free agent at the last minute in the summer, and here he made the greatest play to win a Super Bowl, intercepts in the end zone, and takes it out to the 2 yard line. That was God's hand at work.
I want to go back to the 28-3 for a moment, because you say that you think of that score and that phrase 28-3 whenever you're in an adverse situation. How often do you say something like that to yourself? And when's the last time you could think that you told yourself?
I say it to my key managers and people in our other businesses. When people believe something's impossible, I go 28-3. Think about it, 99.6% chance to lose. It's sort of like, I don't know if you have tennis fans here, but if anyone watched the French Open, you'd see that it's Sinner against Alcaraz, and Sinner was up 2 sets and 3 set points, and Alcaraz came back and won that, and then won 3 sets in a row. That was a similar situation.
When you look at the NFL today, the amount that it's grown, the amount of television revenue that it produces, would you ever have had any idea that the league would grow into what it's become today?
No, I didn't have that vision. But what I did love about an NFL franchise and owning it, in today's country, we have so much division, and it's the one thing that brings people together in our sport, because it's once a week and people can strategize what's going to happen, who's going to play. It brings people of all backgrounds together. I think when we were privileged to win our first Super Bowl, you know, Boston proper is a city of 600,000. It's got about 3 to 4 million with the suburbs. But a city of 600,000, within 24 hours of us winning, We had a gathering of 1.5 million people of all backgrounds came together. There's nothing else in America that brings the country together like sport.
It's June 2025. Please tell Patriot fans some of your expectations for your new head coach and the team he's assembling right now.
Well, any Patriot fans that are out there, I can tell you I'm very excited about this upcoming season. The last 2 years were the worst years of my 31 years of ownership. We have to change that. We have a new coach in Mike Vrabel who is really connected with the players, who's doing great work. We have a young quarterback, a lot of great veterans, free agent veterans who came in, a great draft class. We're going to have fun this year, I promise.
And you said it was the worst 2 years of your 31 years of ownership?
31 years of ownership. I'm very proud. You know, we never won a playoff. There was only one home playoff game in 34 years. I sat in the stands 1978. Earl Campbell ran for over 100 yards, and we lost. One home playoff game. We've owned the team 31 years. We've had 27 home playoff games, and we're privileged to win 23. I want that record to keep going.
Last thing before I let you go. I mentioned the $172 million that you paid for the Patriots in 1994. This past week, we saw someone pay $10 billion for a sports franchise. What goes through your mind when you hear $10 billion for an NBA team, the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's nice, but to me it's like your house going up in value. In my lifetime, and I believe my children's lifetime, we're keeping control. It's nice, and I think back to Jerry Buss buying the Lakers. I owned a team in World Team Tennis and called the Boston Lobsters, and he owned the LA Strings, and we were partners together then, and he was a great brand manager, and we're great friends, and I think Jeannie Buss has done a great job, and I'm happy for them and happy for everyone who owns a sports franchise.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Fanatics Fest, the great owner of the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Patriot fans. You're the backbone of our franchise.
And there is the Patriots owner, Robert Kraft, who in my mind belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's overdue. It should have happened. It's obviously disappointing that it hasn't. I believe his time has come, but the voters have a different idea. From a potential future Football Hall of Fame owner to a player who already has been inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. An old-time Michigan great, a new author of the book, By the Grace of God, the former #1 overall pick, Chris Webber.
Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
I was talking to Chris backstage, and we were talking about some of the work that he's done recently, and he was telling me about a book that he recently wrote, By the Grace of God. So I'm curious if you could tell everybody here what you hoped to impart with your book that's now out and available.
I think what I wanted to impart is you guys see the lives of athletes all the time and how we have to be around great teammates and people that are encouraging and people that have the same tenets that you do. And so in the book, really all I talk about is I'm thankful to the soccer dad that lived on our block that gave me a ride to practice. I'm thankful to the teachers that held me accountable when I was younger and saying, well, if you're going to do this, you have to do this way. And so you never know what effects you have on people. So I just would encourage you guys to have a positive effect. Say an encouraging word, help somebody out, because you never know what that can do. And for me, during my whole career, it helped a lot. And so I wanted to pay homage to those people.
Who were some of those people, and what were some of those messages?
Wow. I would say my mother's one of those people. You know, coming from Michigan, I called a timeout in a big game, and my mother, her perspective was, we're going to start a foundation, and you're going to help people through what happened to you. And that was so cool because it distracts you in a positive way, right? What if she would have been, oh, my goodness, and all this. And so just maybe a month later, I was drafted the first pick in the NBA, and it would happen to be in Detroit. So her words allowed me to concentrate on the good and not focus on the bad. And so I would say it's her, or a man named Mr. Montgomery and Curtis Hervey, who were just good guys and held me accountable. And so it's so many people, from family members like my mom and dad all the way to people that was just in our neighborhood.
Is there one message in your book that stands out to you? We just had Robert Kraft on, and he said he thinks of the score 28-3, and that when people in his businesses are facing tough situations, he just looks at them and says 28-3. Is there a message that had a particular impact on you that stayed with you that you could share with everybody today that left a mark with you?
Yes, I think the biggest story that I received from people was perseverance. And not just in the game, but in life. A lot of times we have a setback, and it's really how you look at that setback and how you handle it. So even think about Indiana right now losing Game 6. It's just two mental mind states to have, because it's not a guarantee. It is, okay, we got our butts beat, and we're going to do our best the next day. Really, if you come from that mind frame, everything else is going to happen instead of just sitting there worrying. And so I think perseverance, and even when I got a chance to see Mr. Kraft in the back, and he showed me his ring, that's what took me so long coming out. Even when I looked at him, all I thought was perseverance, because it seems easy that he won 6,000 championships, but you know it was perseverance, and you know it was planning your best, doing your best, and letting the chips fall where they may. So, you know, that's just my kind of thing. Plan, discipline, fall down, get back up, stay encouraged.
Neither here nor there, but I know you're trying to bring a WNBA team to Detroit. Robert Kraft in 1994, and we talked all about this in front of this audience, paid $172 million for the New England Patriots. This past week, we saw the Los Angeles Lakers sold for $10 billion. How do you think Robert Kraft did on that investment back in the day? Just something like that, when you hear numbers involved and see something that a man like that has been through, does that inspire you to want to bring a WNBA team to Detroit even more? Does it make you think about other business projects? What do you think when you hear some of those numbers and some of these current events?
Yeah, it's men like Mr. Kraft, Magic Johnson, and others that make you say it's possible. And I know he had a life before sports, but he still had to believe and still wanted to have that team and say, I'm going to be this committed to the community, because you have to be committed to the community to win and those things. So, yeah, I think about that a lot. But it's going to take a lot of dedication, a lot of sleepless nights, but that's what we talked about, enjoying the process.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, and initially why I requested to speak with you today, was I remember when you were in Michigan, and I remember some of the articles that were written about you. And I remember you and your teammates talking about the struggle it was to pay for cheeseburgers while you were going to college. Is my memory accurate?
Yes.
What do you think of today's college affairs, where they can not only afford all the cheeseburgers they want, but they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions? I can't even imagine what Chris Webber would have been paid back in the day. What do you think when you see these guys making this money today?
You know, I'm happy. I'm happy. I can't wait till the dust settles, though, so that the quarterback at Michigan, who deserves what he gets, is in somewhat parity to the female volleyball player. And it doesn't have to be the same. It's two different worlds. But what I mean is that there's levity and parity within college, you know. So I'm really happy, but I can't wait till the dust settles, because I don't like how everyone can get into the portal. You know, I think sometimes it doesn't hold you accountable. It says, oh, I didn't play well, but I can still go get more somewhere else. And so I love it, but I wanted to keep the love of the game. And that's only going to take time to see how that affects guys. Will their NFL careers be as filled with passion because this is still the moment, or will they have already burnt out because they've been professional, you know? And so those are kind of things. What are you seeing in football?
It is such a different world, right? I think in football, you're seeing a lot of guys like combine, they skip the off seasons, they come in some ways They're more advanced because they've been professionals. Story that I like to tell is there was a Michigan quarterback that asked me a few years ago. He's like, hey, could you tweet out the news if I go to Michigan? Now, I never tweet about high school players, but I said, if that means something to you and you decide to go to Michigan, I'll tweet it out. Literally a few weeks later, I get this call from this prominent person in the NFL world. And they're like, hey, I saw this guy's name and number come up. I'm like, I better check to see what this is about. And he's like, just want to make sure you're tweeting about this guy going to Michigan. I'm like, how do you know this guy? And he's like, I'm working with him. I'm like, he's in high school.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world. These guys are coming into experiences way ahead of when you and your teammates did. They're making money. There's a part of it that I like, but there's a part of it that makes me very uneasy and very nervous for them, because I can't imagine what it would be like to be a 16, 17, 18-year-old and have a lot of money in your pocket. Would that suck your drive away? Would that change your ambition? Would it alter the way that you go about your off seasons? Tom Brady was here today. If Tom Brady was making hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the day, I know he's different. Would he be as driven as he was to reach the heights that he did?
Yeah, and with someone like Tom, who is my favorite quarterback of all time, of course, but when you look at his trial times and what he did at the combines, right, we know he maybe was the slowest, or maybe I think if he would have been paid then, it would have been more scrutiny and less chance for him to be great, because they're going to say, this is how much you make, you aren't that great. And that's what I don't want guys to get into, is the unfair scrutiny that comes before you should be mature. But you're asking for it because now you're getting a paycheck. And I think that's where things are going to have to balance out. The fact that, can you handle the scrutiny and still grow and get better, because now you're held to a different standard because of how much money you're making.
You're so smart. You've been through so much. Do you ever get the chance to impart your wisdom on any of these standout college players at Michigan or anywhere else?
I definitely. I work with a lot of families, work with a lot of players in all sports. And I give them my wisdom, and then again, I learn a lot from them too, because it's different today navigating for these kids. And a lot of times I go, I'm like you, man, to have this at your footsteps. I feel bad that some of these guys go to campus and haven't even had a college experience, because now they're separated from the campus. And my college experience in Michigan was one of the best, which allowed me to want to go pro, because I got to have that college time. So I really hope that they can get the check, but get the full life of being a kid on a college campus, playing with screaming fans. If you're at Michigan, 100,000 people, and enjoying it and not having the pressure of being a professional.
And there's another side of it as well. I can't believe that some players leave school early now when they could make more money in college, get their degree, enjoy 4 years like a normal student. How long were you in Michigan? 2 years?
I was in Michigan 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody could have paid you now multiple millions of dollars to stay in school.
Stay with Jalen, Juwan, Ray, Jimmy. What are you talking? Yes.
We could have extended the Fab Five.
We could have extended, and we would have got an NIL for all our players. We would have had our 12th man with an NIL deal, because we loved our teammates that much. Almost like a quarterback giving his offensive lineman, go-karts or whatever for that. So, if we would have had it, 2 more years to be able to be kids, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And that's the other side to all this, where I think some kids, hopefully they're wise enough to benefit. I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but like Danny Wolf leaves Michigan. He talked about how much he loved it this year to go into the NBA draft. And I'm thinking, why are you leaving then? If you love it that much, why not stay in the program, work with Dusty May, go 1 more year, get your degree. He'll make more money there.
And you'll have a legacy. What I don't like is a lot of the kids that are so great in college, they're leaving so early that for someone like myself, I get to go back to Michigan and be a part of it and be remembered. They're not, because they were only there a year. And I think that really, really hurts when you graduate from a school, you've given it all you can, and you go back and you're not recognized because you didn't spend the time there. And so I think a lot of kids are going to deal with that a little bit later on. But, yeah, I don't want them to miss that experience.
Hey, Chris, I want to thank you for being a great ambassador for the state of Michigan, for the University of Michigan, for yourself, for basketball. His new book, relatively new book, By the Grace of God. Encourage everybody to buy and read it. I want to thank the great Chris Webber for his time here at the Fanatics Fest today.
We beat Ohio State. We are the champions.
We did 4 years in a row.
We beat Ohio
right?
State 4 years in a row.
And there was Chris Webber and Robert Kraft, and that capped a tremendous 48-hour experience that started on the golf course of Cromwell, Connecticut, and ended at the Jacob Javits Center Friday afternoon, early Friday night with Robert Kraft and Chris Webber. The opportunity to walk around with Captain Keegan Bradley, Rory McIlroy, that was great. And I got to tell you, after the round, Dan, got a chance to speak to both of them individually for about 5-10 minutes. That was, for me, a huge golf fan, an awesome highlight. When you get to step out of your comfort zone, it's inspiring, it's refreshing, it's invigorating, and spending time with those two great golfers was tremendous. Look, I'm just saying, when I was with them, they both were 6 under that day.
Well, Keegan won the tournament, Shefty, so I don't know what you said to him.
So I don't know if Keegan wants me out at Bethpage Black for the Ryder Cup when he's captain to be the sideline course reporter.
He might be captain and playing, Shefty.
Well, whatever it is, I just want him to know that I might be available for that opening day if he feels like that's going to bring some good karma the way it brought him good karma on the opening day of the Travelers Championship in a tournament that he inexplicably and improbably went on to win. Dan, I blessed him with the magic touch that day. I sent all the karma and mojo I had to Keegan, and he came through, and he was really incredible. Sent me a text that night saying that it was really nice to have me out, like just above and beyond, and truly appreciated. And we are rooting for Captain Keegan, and we congratulate him for his $3.6 million win at the Travelers Championship, a tournament he had won before. Awesome to see that up front. All right, we're going to take off the next couple of weeks. We will be back in this spot with Ty Schmidt again on Monday, July 14th, a little bit of time where the NFL kind of quiets down, shuts down, and everybody gets a chance to refresh and recharge during the summer break. But until then, I hope everybody enjoys their summer break, has a great, happy, and healthy July 4th, and we will see you in mid-July with the start of NFL training camps. Until then, everybody, continue to have a great summer.